Okay, for this layout, we're going to be using quite a few of our journaling cards, the 3x4 cards that came with the kit, as well as these two pieces of paper. And we're going to do a grid layout using these three slightly smaller than 3x4 photos. And my printer does print them slightly smaller than 3x4 naturally, but you can always crop yours down if you already have them printed. But they'll fit perfectly inside of a 3x4 card without having to be matted again. So that is why we're going to use these. So to start with, I want you to cut down this pink paper to 10 1/4 by 10 1/4. So you're going to need your ruler or your trimmer if you have a trimmer, and cut it down. Mark your paper first to 10 1/4 by 10 1/4. If you're unfamiliar with the ruler, that is the first long line after the number. Okay, so we're going to mark our papers at 10 1/4 here and up here. Then I'm going to take my T-square and turn it this way to make my line. Lining it up with my two dots. There we go. So I know where to cut it. I'm going to do the same down here, 10 1/4. By 10 1/4. And then make my line. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to just cut that down. Don't worry, we're going to use these scraps for another layout coming up. My goal with my kits is to use up every last piece of paper that I can and create as much as possible. Okay, so now we've got our inside piece. Now, one of the things that I like to do to make good use of my paper is I'm going to cut out the center of this white with dash paper and just create a frame. But I want to make sure that I don't cut too small. So what I'm going to do is take my pencil and I'm going to mark about a 1/2 inch in on either side. All the way around. Just a little guesstimate. And then I'm going to take my ruler again. Well, this has dashes on it. This probably I could do freehand. Get myself started here with a little spot. And this doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be underneath. And no one's going to see the back because you're going to have another layout behind it in your album. Now, if you didn't want to do this, you do not have to, but I plan on using the inside of this paper for another layout. So that is why I am cutting it out. But again, you could use any of these papers how you like. You don't have to use the same ones that I'm using. So feel free to modify as necessary. Let's see, this paper I can use for another layout. So now that we have that done, I'm going to take my pink paper and tape that into place just around the outsides. Just putting down tape right at the edge so it will attach to my white paper border. Okay. I do like to go in bursts of taping, so once I have made a decision, I will go ahead and tape things down. If I wait to the very end and have to take everything back off to tape later, it's not likely that I'm going to get things where I wanted them in the first place. So I just choose to do a little bit, make a decision, move on. Okay, so going to roughly put this in the center. Around there, eyeballing it works. Okay, now we've got our cards and our photos. And I think that I want to put my photos onto the cards first. So just a couple pieces of tape to hold it in place. And my idea was to use this card that has this fantastic stripe to kind of layer behind. So because I know I'm doing that, I'm going to cut it across like this and use the other half down here. So I know that I'm doing this, just gonna line that back up and tape it down. Make sure I'm taping it on the right side. Okay, just lining that up. There we go. So this one's going to go here. That's going to help make this photo pop out because the colors of the card and the background are very similar. And then I think I'll have another photo here. So let's put that and. Yeah, that photo can go there. I'll use this blue one, I think. Quick decisions are best. Try not to labor on things too long because you won't make a lot of progress that way. I find that My friends who are perfectionists definitely take a lot longer to scrap, which is just fine. That's okay. Don't make yourself frustrated with it. That's the key. Don't let yourself get frustrated trying to be perfect. There we go. Yeah, let's pop some black on here. That looks good. Since I have black here, let's put the other black one over here. Ooh, I like this floral. That's definitely a good one. So let's put that photo there. I like the pops of black in the Felicity Jane kits along with the gorgeous colors because it creates contrast between your beautiful pastel colors and bold prints and having a really nice neutral like black and white. So now we've got our 6 cards in place, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did up at the top down here at the bottom. Just have this sort of popping out from behind. Of this card. Yep. Alrighty. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape everything down. Right here, and I'll be back. Okay, now that all of my cards are taped down, we're gonna start embellishing. And I've pulled out a few things that I think will work. I want to use a little bit of these little chipboard words. I think I'll just kind of place them around the page just to kind of move your eye a little bit. I saw this frame, thought it might help tone down this black just a little bit. Maybe this floral can live on top of it. Something like this might be nice. Yeah, kind of like that. And then Happy Times I thought would be perfect to go here because she's laughing. And maybe this bow here. I don't need to do a lot of journaling on this page because it's just my daughter and our dog playing. I thought maybe this would look kind of cool up here. Maybe layer it just a little bit. Like that. Maybe pop this underneath of the big flower. So it just kind of pops out just a little. Covers that little gap right there. So I rather like that. And if I did decide to journal, I could always journal around the outside of this card here. I do that fairly often. Also thinking that I want to use these puffy tiny alphabets. I'm thinking maybe for my title doing puppy kisses. So let's start at the end and see how much space I have. Might use the the little letters for the word sweet. See how much space we've got. Oops. And these letters have little polka dots on them, so they're quite cute. There we go. I always try to come up with titles that aren't super long, but they're also not super obvious. For example, I could have called this Olivia and Gracie, which is who's in the photos, but I feel like that's fairly obvious that they're the ones in the photos, at least to me. And so try to come up with something that's more about what's happening and less about where or who is in the photos. And if you can come up with a song title, clever song title, or something that's rhyming or silly, that's always fun to do too. There we go. I do often like to start from one side or the other. I just realized I'm 1 P short. So you're going to get to see me make that work. Alrighty. So what we're going to do is you could take an R and modify it, but I know myself. I like R's and I use them quite a bit, whereas B's, not quite so often. So I'm going to just modify this B into a P. Probably won't be perfect. That's okay. There we are. Have ourselves another P. Again, not perfect. It's okay. It all works. Yep, see, I'm not sure I have enough room here to use the big alphas for sweet. So I think I'm going to bring in these tiny alphas to put the word sweet. Also makes it a little bit more interesting, I think. I might even write it twice. Sweet, sweet puppy kisses. That sounds pretty good. That is kind of a long title though, isn't it? After I just said you don't have to do long titles. Ah, well. You know how the process goes, y'all. Goes and goes. Sweet puppy kisses. Maybe if I put another sweet up here, I think that would look really cute to have 2 sweets. And there's a lot of these little puffy tiny alphas, so I think it'll work. Go. Sweet, sweet puppy kisses. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Just going to tape down my embellishments. Now this style of layout, if I didn't mention it before, is called a grid layout. And it's very popular when you have a lot of photos to use, because you can get a lot of photos on the page without it feeling like it's a super busy layout. Without it feeling overwhelming, because it kind of compartmentalizes the photos. so they just don't look like a whole pile of photos stacked on top of each other. They do still have a bit of design in there too. And I do like to do a little bit of overlap between the cards sometimes. Just think that's a little bit more interesting. Break out my glue for some of these chipboard pieces. Now Felicity Jane's chipboard doesn't normally have adhesive on them, which I find to be just fine, because then I don't have to fight to get them off of backing. And I am totally okay with that. So smaller pieces, I generally go to the glue. Just find it a little faster, a little bit easier than trying to get tape onto the back. Luckily, this is photo safe glue, and it came right off. Don't sweat the small stuff. I think I will journal around that ampersand just a little bit about these two goofy girls. My daughter Olivia just loves dogs. Absolutely loves them, and Gracie is by far her favorite, much to Gracie's chagrin. Gracie does not appreciate being the favorite. Oh, to be a dog. Tough life. Gotta be loved on and snuggled and fed. Sleep all day. At least my dogs are that way. They sleep a lot. Okay, we've got our last little piece here, and then we're going to add some of our sequins, our finer details. It's alright, the glue dries clear, so if you do things like me and drop everywhere, it's totally fine. Alright. Let's add some sequins. Now I'm just going to kind of randomly add them around my clustering of embellishments. You can add yours if you would like them in different places. That's completely fine. This is just to give you ideas. I'm going to put, I think I want a gold one down there. Here. And sometimes I overlap them and sometimes I do not. Really just depends on my mood in that moment. I want a gold one down here by the sweet. Maybe a little black one as well. Let's see, where else do we need to put sequins? I think one of these up here would be nice. Maybe a gold one as well. Put it up here this time. And where else? Let's put one here on this happy times. I think I'll put a white one gold on top. There we are. So that's this layout done. Hopefully you are scrapping along with me and creating your own grid layout. Thanks so much for joining me. On to the next video.